Hey y'all, I wanted to do this video for a few weeks now. I'm sorry. It's after the first of the year and I wanted to do a happy non-diet new year video. I just want to preface this whole thing with saying I'm not a medical professional. This is not a substitute for medical advice, not health advice. This is for information and educational purposes only. So I'm just sitting here on my couch. I got my herbal tea, I got my notes. I think I'm just going to put this out without any edits because I don't have time to edit and I just want it out there. So I'm just going to do this awkward pauses and all. So a lot of you guys have been messaging me or commenting on my old intuitive eating videos, saying that you're struggling this time of year, and I don't blame you. I mean, it's January and dieting and weight loss is just in our cultural soup, like even stronger than it normally is right now. So it makes total sense that you might kind of feel yourself being pulled back into that. So I just wanted to remind you of a few things that may help you to stay rooted in a weight neutral approach. And number one is that diets are more likely to make you heavier than provide permanent weight loss. That has been proven. That's not even disputed. That statistic is in, I've mentioned it in several of my earlier videos. It's that 95% of people who pursue weight loss gain it all back, and then 2/3, about 67%, end up heavier than when they started. So that's a good reminder. That's a good incentive to not participate in dieting. It has the potential, I'm not going to say it will because everyone's body is different, but it has a huge potential to raise your set point weight. What that is, what your body wants to be at. And that is for a variety of reasons, but mainly your body's way of protecting you from famine and death. It also has the potential to slow down your metabolism. And we saw this with The Biggest Loser. I've mentioned that study many times in previous videos. So that right there should help you to root yourself a little bit better in the non-diet approach. Number two, dieting doesn't cure food issues, it creates food issues. No diet is going to cure you of binging or feeling out of control around food, or it's definitely not going to cure an eating disorder, but there are so many levels of that. Even if you don't have a full-blown eating disorder, I think probably 80 or 90% of women, especially in westernized societies, probably have some issues with food in their body. And dieting is to blame for a lot of that. There was something mentioned in Dr. Linda Bacon's book about there are this small sliver of people who don't have food issues and they don't have restrictive past. So it kind of makes sense if you've been around this circle or the cycle of dieting a time or two, which probably most of the people watching this channel have been around a time or two. You know that when you restrict yourself, it just makes you want food or the thing that you're not supposed to have that much more. And so dieting really perpetuates that. And I know a lot of people, including myself, falsely assume, like, if I could just get back on a plan, that's going to help me to be on track. And that's just not true. It creates those issues. And not only binging, but like preoccupation with food and numbers and just kind of obsessing and feeling out of control over food. Just a quick antidote. For example, my daughter's birthday is January 4th. And so I made her a delicious strawberry cake with strawberry cream cheese icing for her birthday. And I had no problem eating that. And not only that, in the past, it would have gone something like me tiptoeing to the kitchen when no one's looking and like getting a fork and just like cutting off a little sliver of a bite for myself. None of that nonsense this time. I think probably in the cake, I would assume there's probably 24 slices total. I think I had 3 slices of the whole thing over the course of like a week. Yes, that cake lasted a week in our house. Another example, we still have Halloween candy in the pantry. Reese's Cups, which used to be like the big thing that drew me in, that I felt totally out of control in. They're sitting in there right now. They have been since October. It's January, and I don't want them, and my kids haven't really wanted them. So dieting creates those issues and it perpetuates them, and really the only way to break free from that is to give yourself full permission to eat intuitively and to choose from a place of freedom and abundance and sovereignty. Okay, I'll move on to the next one now. Number 3, thin does not end all suffering. And I think this is a big one. A lot of people, including myself, have all these hopes tied to their diet. Like, okay, when I'm thin, then I'll get the guy. That's a big one. Or when I'm thin, everyone will like me more. When I'm thin, the perfect job will be mine. And we tell ourselves all these weird little stories, and we tie thin with something else that we really want. And it's just not true. Thinness doesn't end suffering, and thinness doesn't even end suffering with your body. This is a huge realization. This is kind of a mantra that I repeat to myself when I kind of am struggling, and that is, where did I write down? Different body, same struggle, or different body, same pain. So even in a thinner body, you still have the same struggle to restrict and have all these control mechanisms to keep you there. I know a lot of us think when we start pursuing weight loss that when we hit our goal and get to maintenance, the ever elusive maintenance, that as Isabel Fox and Duke says, that like rainbows and unicorns are gonna pop out of the sky and everything's gonna be great and it'll just be easy, and nothing could be further from the truth. It's still hard, it's just you're in a different body. So you have the same struggle, you still feel pulled to all of these forbidden foods or all these things that you're not supposed to have, and the struggle's still there. So a good exercise for you guys would be to figure out what being thin actually means to you. What is it that you actually want? And so I kind of wrote down a good exercise for you guys to maybe kind of journal around or brainstorm. What am I actually assigning meaning to thin? So I would just take out a journal, and if you're struggling with still wanting to be thin, just say at the top right, like, what happens when I'm thin? And then just journal and say, okay, I get this job, or, you know, just free form write, and it will allow you to get a lot of those thoughts out of your head and go back and read it and kind of pinpoint some of the things that you're attaching to thin. And it's kind of a fascinating exercise to do. But what you can do from there is to take the things that you really want and then find someone your size or bigger who already has that thing. And it's totally possible with all things that you can think of, whether it's a relationship or a great job or feeling confident in your body. You can go out and find on social media, probably on Instagram, you could just go search hashtags and find someone your size or larger who's doing the thing that you want. And it, I'm telling you, will break your brain in a good way, and it will help you kind of unlink thin from whatever else it is that you want. Okay. So, number 4, health is not one-dimensional. Okay? So, with all the January nonsense going on, a lot of emphasis is put on the body. The body, the body, the body. Get the perfect body. Get a thin body. All the messages that we hear, a lot of that is centered around the body. The problem is that we are complex beings. We are not just bodies. We are mind, body, spirit, emotions. We have lots of aspects of ourselves, and dieting and obsessive exercising doesn't serve all parts of us, and at times it doesn't even actually serve our body. But it's easy to fall into the trap that pursuing weight loss is going to make you better. Well, that's not necessarily true. And even some of the ones that are a little sneakier, going around like Whole30, like yeah, it sounds good in theory, but I know myself, if I restrict myself in that way, it's just going to cause me to have some issues around foods that I've already created peace with. So that's not saying, you know, like, I'm not judging anybody who's on Whole30. I just know I can discern what's right for me without judging the other person, you know? That's a big distinction. So also, another side tangent to that, we need to have compassion for people who are struggling with this, and don't judge them if they're hardcore dieting or whatever, because we're all fed the same BS information from very young ages, and it's very easy to be deceived in this way because it's hammered into us constantly from a variety of places. So just know that you don't have to participate, but you also don't have to judge the person who is, because we all have the same struggle. It's hard being in a society that's kind of fat phobic and has tons of thin bias. So if you can just stand in your own truth and know, be able to discern what is good for you without judging the other person or even having to convert them. It's not your job. You don't have to go out and be a mouthpiece for the anti-diet movement. A lot of people, for your own self-care, it's better if you're not. If you're not really rooted in it yet, you don't want to get into a debate with someone on, you know, health or weight. A lot of times it's better to just kind of not participate in the conversation and maybe just get quiet when people start talking about weight loss, or leave the room. Just do whatever's best for your self-care. Okay. Number 5, there are tons of weight neutral ways to support yourself. If you're struggling in your body, like if say you get labored for breath when you climb the stairs, there are ways to improve that, and you don't even have to lose weight. You may lose weight, but that's not the goal. So you can work on your endurance, you can work on your flexibility, you can work on your self-image, you can work on moving in ways that are easy and joyful, and all that can be very good for you. And it doesn't have to do anything to do with weight. Even if you happen to lose weight, it's all about being weight neutral. Okay, so number 6, I have, don't forget to practice discernment, because there's a lot of BS information going on out there, and just don't jump on any bandwagons. Just, if you feel pulled towards something, just take a minute and sit with it and think about how it's going to make you feel, all aspects of yourself, mind, body, spirit, emotions, and think, is this really good for me? And also, don't feel bad if you fall into a trap and you start a diet and then kind of get down the road a few days and then be like, no, this was such a bad idea. Why did I do it? Don't be hard on yourself. Like I said, we're hit over the head with this stuff. So just practice discernment and tune into yourself and see what's going on. And that's really gonna take you a long way, and you get better at it. And it doesn't just end with dieting. You get a really good BS detector. This whole non-diet thing has really improved my BS detector. I can sense it, feel it a lot quicker than I did before. So, okay, number 7, choose to live from a place of freedom, sovereignty, and abundance. And when you make choices from those places, it becomes a lot easier to take care of yourself. I think, I'll put my paper down because my notes are done now. I think a lot of people wrongly assume if you intuitive eat, you're just giving up on yourself, or whatever, you know, you're just, yeah, giving up on yourself. And that, nothing could be further from the truth. What you're actually doing is combining your intellect and like, oh, I know that vegetables are good for me. I know that some form of exercise is good for me. You're combining that with your intuition and your desires, and you're working together. And don't forget, when you go on a diet, you just by default have all these mental rules that you're trying to make your body follow, and it puts you in that mind-body disconnect. And for more on that, I'm going to refer you to my mind-body disconnect video, and I will link that below. But when you are working from a place where you're in flow, where it's easy, there's so much ease to it, where it's very very graceful or gracious. You don't have to beat yourself up about anything. You don't have to beat yourself up about anything. There's no bandwagon to fall off of. There's no, the diet starts Monday. There's no holiday to recover from. Even the holidays are a totally different experience when you're intuitive eating. There's just not any need to like gorge on things because you can have them anytime you want. It's just a totally different mindset to operate from. And I have found it to be a lot more liberating, a lot more productive, and it's a much more pleasant way to live. I wish I'd started it years and years and years ago. That's my only regret, that I didn't start it earlier. So with that, I hope that was somehow helpful to you guys. I feel you. I know it's hard in January when everyone seems to be doing the opposite of what we're trying to do. You feel that tension. You feel like that you have some cognitive dissonance with that. You know, like, oh, I feel the tension of what's actually happening and what I want to do. So I hope that these tips and facts kind of helped you guys to be in a better place. And I know it can be hard to unwind a lot of this stuff in our minds, but it's worth it. It's totally worth it. I feel like I'm on the other side of it now. Not that I don't have struggles or moments where I kind of fall into some old traps and things. Definitely not perfect, but I feel like I've come a long way. And I hope this helps you guys. If you have any questions about intuitive eating or any requests for other videos, leave me a comment below and I'd love to hear what you think. And thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.